Hey, we gonna read. We gonna read some more. We gonna read again till we fall down. We gonna read all night. Let's do it. Get it. Both y'all three. 1, 2, 3. Bob, get it.
Clap on your way up.
Let's do this. Get my Fiji. Oh, that's close. Hello guys, my name is Peter Paul.
I'm Dominic D'Agostino. And I'm Em.
I'm Henry.
And we'll read the lesson to you now.
Smooth.
Alright guys, we're going to read you about Greek classicism and Hellenism. Very interesting lesson. I recommend you pay attention. There's a lot of interesting parts.
Indeed.
And for this lesson, we'll start off with the Persian War. The Persians, defeated by the Greeks at Marathon in 490 BCE, spent the next 10 years regrouping under Xerxes I and preparing for another invasion of the Greek mainland. The invasion took place in 480, when an army of perhaps as many as 60,000 men proved unstoppable, completely overrunning northern Greece. It must have been a frightening experience. Medes and Persians clad in leather breeches and fishtail iron jerkins, with short, powerful bows. The Syrians in bronze helmets carrying long lances. Arabs in flowing robes, and Ethiopians in leopard and iron skins. A coalition army headed by the Spartans battled valiantly at a narrow southern pass named Thermopylae, the Hot Gates, which has gone down in history largely because a traitor revealed to the Persians how to take down the defenders from the rear. As the Persian army moved steadily south, its fleets sailed north against southern Attica. The Persians took and destroyed Athens, and ultimately victory seemed like a certainty.
The Greeks, however, fought on territory they knew well. They had brilliant leaders, and they were motivated by the desire to save their homeland. For years, the Athenian Themistocles had championed the Greek navy and hundreds of new triremes. These long warships, manned by disciplined citizen sailors, took to the sea amongst the Persian fleet. The critical battle came off the port of Athens, near the small island of Salamis, where the triremes massed against the Persians, ramming them as Greek warriors swarmed abroad. The Battle of Salamis proved a Greek triumph. They totally destroyed the Persian fleet and left the Persian army unsupported. The Persian army wintered the Thessaly, and in 479 BCE it marched south again. Under Spartan command, the Greek army emerged victorious at the critical battle of Plataea. The beaten Persians withdrew, never again to set foot in Greece. The Persian War did not end for another 30 years. But after the battles of Salamis in 480 and Plataea in 479, the war consisted largely of annual raids by the Greeks on coastal and the Persian Empire. Yes.
Now, didn't they make a movie based on this war, actually?
Yes, the movie based on this war was called 300, I believe.
Oh, Spartan 300, yeah.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Good movie.
It wasn't too...
We actually,
it wasn't,
it's funny you asked
yeah.
that because we all watched it last night.
Yeah, we all watched it together in Dom's basement. Great movie. But some of the historical things weren't right, so don't rely on movies for historical facts.
Yeah. And
Here you go on
now.
now.
I'm picking up.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, I was done. You can
Oh,
pick up actually here. It's your turn.
Alright, so now we're going to move on to the golden age of Pericles. Claiming to be the saviors of Greece in the Persian Wars, the Athenians set about liberating the rest of the country. Several city-states banded together with Athens to form the Delian League in 478 BCE. The league took its name from the Ionian island of Delos, where the group met and stored its money. The states made a contract, and the signatories agreed to follow a common foreign policy and to contribute ships and their money as Athens deemed necessary. Athens contributed the most money and commanded the fleet. A systematic liberation of the Greek cities around the Aegean and the conquest of some islands populated by non-Greeks followed. The Delian League became, in fact, a highly prosperous Athenian empire.
The destruction of Athens, the victory over the Persians, and the formation of the Delian League helped to transform the young democracy of Athens, with its thriving commerce, unique religion, and inquisitive philosophies, into a culture of immense artistic achievement. The ruined city had to be rebuilt, and the spirit of victory and the heroics prevailed. The Delian treasury, moved to Athens by Pericles, helped finance the immense cost of reconstruction. Athens had witnessed a succession of the rulers, and an interesting form of democracy had gradually emerged. Historians estimate that when Pericles came to power in 461 BCE, the population of Athens was approximately 230,000 people. About 4,000 of these were free male citizens, 4,000 were Athenian women, 50,000 were foreign-born, and 100,000 were slaves. Athenian democracy, however, allowed only free male citizens to vote. The long-believed view that in the golden age of Athens, women, although honored as wives and mothers, had little freedom, has been disputed by some recent historians who claim that although women were denied the right to vote, the otherwise associated men as equals.
Thank you.
Thank you, Costa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kasha.
Excuse me, you put it in front of the tuna and the Chobani? That'll be actually.
Yeah, just right here.
Right here, that'll be excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
sir.
Another
Thank
tuna.
you.
Alright, thanks.
Alright,
Yeah, don't come back.
where'd you leave off, Dominic?
I actually left off right there.
Okay.
So you can just pick up at the
Oh,
tyrant.
okay, that's okay. The tyrant, or ruler, wielded considerable power.
Thirsty.
This power emanated principally from ownership of land. Private estates provided not only for the tyrant's individual welfare, but also for the horses and arms necessary to make him a leader in warfare.
And what a great leader he was.
He was a great leader. The Greek tyrants seem in general to have especially benevolent, not necessarily aristocrats. Their claims to leadership often came from their popularity among the citizens.
By the 5th century BCE, Athens was the richest of the Greek city-states. Greek law had been reformed by the great Athenian lawmaker Solon, and after 508 BCE, constitutional changes created a complex of institutions that became the foundations of an almost pure form of democracy. Seriously, bro. All political decisions came, in principle at least, from a majority vote of the citizens. Conditions were right now for an age of high cultural achievement. The golden age of Athens lasted less than half a century, but the middle third of the 5th century BCE produced one of the most significant periods in Western civilization. Now, so we're gonna stop last time, so we're just gonna
Going on. In 404 BCE, the Spartans gained victory. Athens and the Athenians were humiliated, losing their navy and being forced to watch their empire collapse. Pretty sad, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Now I think that the Spartan army, it's all about the army back then. Those were Athens needed to focus more on their army. I think that's why he lost, he collapsed.
No more?
Well, it's-
No beating.
It's pretty sad. Moving on. The Spartans made Athens tear down the defenses that guarded and connected Athens to its port, and also put Athens under the control of a council of conspirators called the 30 Tyrants. 30. Not dirty. 30.
Come on. Where are we?
Oh, we're right here.
Although Sparta achieved political dominance, it did not assume any kind of cultural leadership, nor much long-lasting influence. Athens regained its freedom almost immediately, and although politically weakened with its role as a political power diminished, it regained intellectual and aesthetic dominance.
Oh, aesthetics.
The Hellenistic Age. Peace finally came to the Greek peninsula after Macedonian conquest of the powerful King Philip II. who had seized the throne of Macedon in the middle of the 4th century. He assembled and trained a powerful army, conquering his neighbors, and involved himself in the tangled alliances of the Greeks. In 338 BCE, at the Battle of Chaetraina, Philip and his army routed the combined army of Athens and Thebes. What?
2 years later, Philip's own men assassinated him and his son. Alexander extended the throne as a king and commander. A pupil of Aristotle, Alexander proved not only an able king in general, but also a man of sophisticated vision. Unlike his father, he was more interested in the world order than a mere conquest and pillage. His rule began with a 12-year expedition in which he led an army, 1/4 of us Greek, into Asia. The brilliant 22-year-old carried Greek, Athenian culture further afield than ever before. Alexander then defeated the Persian king, Darius III. At the Battle of Issus, from there, Alexander led his forces against the city of Tyre in Syria and pressed on to Egypt, where in Delta of the Nile, he founded Alexandria, one of the most influential and important cities in the Hellenistic world. It's very important. A second defeat of Darius and the subsequent sacking of his capital, Persepolis, resulted in Alexander's installation as a successor to the Persian throne.
Wait, did you just say Prince Polo?
I did not.
Because we do have some Prince Polo here.
Very good, dark chocolate.
One of our sponsors, along with Chobani, Fiji. No.
No, where was going over here?
And Nature Valley.
Smooth.
Yeah, whatever.
Let it go.
After pushing as far as the river Indus in India, Alexander's army balked, and so far after following the Indus south to the Indian Ocean, Alexander returned across the great desert and ended his odyssey in Babylon. According to the legend, when Alexander the Great could find no more words to conquer, he sat down and wept. In any case, his destiny fulfilled. Alexander died of a sudden fever at Babylon at the young age of 33. He had married a Persian princess. So he married a Persian princess, declared himself a king and a god, and founded 25 Greek city-states. Along the way, Alexander's soldiers married native women and established Greek customs, trade, administration, and artistry throughout half of Asia.
The success of Alexander's conquest depended to a great extent of his forceful personality. On his death, the empire began to crumble as regional fragmentation and his struggles for power marked the post-Alexandrian or Hellenistic world. Nevertheless, the creation of so vast an empire fostered the internationalism of a culture that persisted into and was strengthened under the Roman Empire. An important aspect of the Hellenistic period, which lasted into the Roman Empire, was syncretism, the fusion of diverse religious beliefs and practices. Commerce flourished and international communication carried Greek throughout an artistic influence to all parts of the world. The success, I'm sorry, I just read that. Historia. The Greek intellect probed the mysteries of this world as well as the more ethereal realms that were the domain of the philosophers. Before the 5th century BCE, accounts of the past formed part of an oral tradition, more myth than fact. But at this time, history, the word derives from historia, meaning inquiry, became a written form put together from careful reach. The first to view history as a special discipline, Herodotus, believed in the superiority of Greek civilization and wrote 9 great volumes of work called History of the Persian Wars. The change from telling the narrative story in form of epic or lyric poetry to relating it in a new descriptive form earned Herodotus the title Father of History.
Although not a historian in our sense of the word, his writing tends to be filtered through the personalities of the people involved, and he often invented inspiring speeches for kings and generals. He retained a neutrality and freedom from patriotic bias. He described the wars in colorful detail, seeking to show how human beings, in this case Greeks and Persians, settled their differences by resorting to arms. And he made full use of his tremendous powers of observation and recorded as much information as he could unearth, including conflicting points of view. He also examined the reliability of his own sources and presented them so that his readers could draw their own conclusions about their city. However, he did not shy away from drawing his own conclusions about the causes of events. He believed that the present had its causes in the past, and his analysis of the Persian War concluded that the Greeks defeated the Persians because the Greeks concepts.
Thucydides, who wrote a history of Peloponnesian Wars, took history in a more subtle and thoughtful direction. He shared Herodotus' passion for truth, and although he had been an Athenian commander for war, he dispassionately lists the foibles, follies, and errors made by the Athenians. Although it should be borne in mind that Thucydides was exiled from Athens for his failure as a naval commander early in the contest,
True.
his writing does not include self-justification. Rather, it reveals an unbiased compilation that strives to show the human motives in ordinary events in order to draw a larger picture of history. He sought to instruct his readers so that they would be armed with knowledge when events of the past reoccurred. Not in simplistic, but in similar ways in the future. And keep in mind, we will discuss history of the Peloponnesian Wars further in the literary section at the end of this chapter. So, I'm just letting you know so you don't get pissed off. Okay, you can pick up here.
Alright. The Greek intellects also turned to science and to the natural world. Although they often erred in their observations, they also gave us many of their basic theories.
Basic.
Thucydides' elements of geometry, for example, remained the standard text well into the 20th century. And physicians still began their careers by reciting the oath of the Greek physician Hippocrates. Hippo's son, growing up. Greek astronomers recognized that the Earth was a sphere. Well, a lot of people thought he was crazy for this, probably. I mean,
I know, the church also
the
said,
church
said the Earth was flat, and this was a big commotion.
big, huge.
Oh my god!
Alright, I'm going back on topic.
Oh!
Going back on topic.
Alright.
You can imagine the controversy it brought because of that.
I mean, people were being imprisoned for it.
Now, think about it. This is way back then. And they actually found the Earth was a sphere. That's really impressive.
That's a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
Can you imagine if you've been, say, take it from our perspective. What if someone were to come up today and say...
Christian Puzio.
Yeah, what if...
Christian Puzio says the Earth is a sphere, but we never heard about it before.
What if today Christian Puzio told us the Earth was flat and he was right? We'd be shocked.
What think he's dumb? You know.
Our opinion would have changed.
Alright, I'm going back on topic. Went off topic a little bit. I'll finish it up. They even calculated its size and distance from the sun and moon through mathematics and trigonometry.
That one goes out to Eric Bishop.
Alright. You want to read about sophistry?
Yes, I'll read it.
Funky.
Oh, it looks like our time's up, and
Time's up.
we'll see you in a bit. We're gonna go on commercial break.